Welcome back to Drum and Drummer, and I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, but it's okay because this is a really awesome little episode. It's part 2 of the Magro interview. And let me tell you, this is a good one because first we're kind of starting off talking about practice and how our practices have changed and stuff like that. But then we get into some really good deep stuff about drumming, about the difference between just being a drummer and kind of being an artist, doing your own thing your way, right? That's super important, and I think it's, again, one of these topics that doesn't get talked about enough. Hopefully this will be a platform in the future as well to be talking about this other stuff of you want to develop yourself, but you also want to have your own style, your own voice, and bring something that's unique to you to the drums. So we were talking about that a lot. I'm excited for you guys to check it out. Here we go. The Magro interview, part 2. Oh, just the other day I saw on your Facebook, you mentioned how the corona situation it's the first time you've been able to have a consistent practice in a while, and I was like, whoa, me too, like the same type of thing. Have you kind of rediscovered some things or discovered some things as you've had that time set aside?
Oh man, I'm always discovering new things. I feel like, I mean, it wasn't now just more intense having time to practice, but I have a few people I'm always with and exchanging new discoveries while exploring the drums and music. And like Paul is one of them. Like we're like minimum talking once a week, like about what we're practicing and how you hear that. And then I send him a video of Justin Tyson, or like, I don't understand that, or
Awesome.
yeah. And also like other friends who are very good at producing, they tell me their shit. And so I feel like I'm always learning new stuff, and I'm getting more information than I could actually practice it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was nice now really to focus on drums every day, because I mean how it is with being a drummer in a big city, your drum kit is half an hour away, and that means like you just cannot practice for 1 hour spontaneously. You always have to travel. And now I was very lucky. Could go to a vacation home. Can you say that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's vacation, yeah,
Like
vacation
a
spot.
house in nature,
Oh
nobody.
yeah, yeah.
And I had a drum kit literally next to my bed, and I could
Oh,
just wake up and play. And my family was even so nice. They said like, yeah, just practice, and nobody was pissed.
yeah.
Hearing the drums the whole day. So yeah, I just focused on practicing a lot, and yeah, I felt very good in shape, because yeah, 1 month I was like 3 days I did not play, but 1 month kind of straight.
Yeah.
And I mean, what I'm practicing the last years is really getting the stuff that I want to express clear, translated to the listener. I mean, I'm recording myself by practicing, and then I mean to the metronome or not with the metronome, with the music, and then I listen to it back later. Is it really translated as well as I thought while I was playing? And then I discover new stuff from, like, I have to clean up. What I really practiced the last years was like the most basic stuff, like really like two hands, two foot, two hand, two foot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like through the whole range of basic stuff, and I'm still doing it. Um, what I really newly discovered, was really cool. Like Paul had a lesson with Mike Mitchell,
Hmm.
and he told like one thing that I never did or think of. I mean, not everybody is doing it. I know Eric Moore, for example, is not doing that, but Mike Mitchell is, he practiced or that still does it, like learning a song by ear, like one on one, the whole track, like playing exactly what a drummer does, like with the hi hat open at one spot and two snare hits at that spot, like not
Hmm.
just playing to the music
Yeah.
and playing the same beat, but really playing everything the same, like every hit. And I started practicing that, and I discovered like this is so hard. I mean, I started practicing that one track from the album from Ronald Bruno Jr.
Mm.
that Take the Time is it, I think, with Thundercat. The track is amazing and the drum beat is really sick, and the drum beats, and yeah, that's what I was practicing then, like figuring out what he does, like everything. And it's very interesting because you go much deeper into it, and like also when he opens the hi-hat for an accent or something, it's like you really understand the language more deeply. And I think if you do that practice for some years, man, your ears develop like crazy. I think that's why these, like Mike Mitchell, for example, is so crazy good, because he can hear everything anybody plays, like
Mm.
really hear it. You know, like if I hear a fill, ding, 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 I really play that right on the spot. You know, but he can hear like the craziest anybody is playing through that practice. So
Yeah,
that's what something new I discovered now, like through Paul. Yeah.
that's a shortcoming of myself that I just realized recently when I was just kind of shedding with another guy, and I was like, and he would be like showing me Phil stuff, and I would just be like, not able to repeat it. And it's a funny thing because a lot of times you can actually play it if you just kind of made it up yourself or something, but to actually listen and try and play it exactly the way someone else did, it's
Yeah, and the ear gets trained to listen fast, you know, because I mean everybody can do a fill he transcribed and then practicing it fast or slow, and then you have that fill in your arms, but you don't hear it still. You just have it figure out the motion. But if you are able to have the metronome at that tempo and then playing subdivisions between between that, and if you are able really to feel and hear that by ear, then man, that's another level of freedom. That's where that's the direction I want to head now, because I feel, man, I practice so much technique. I practice so many basics. I
mm,
transcribed so many fills and
mm,
systems of drummers I love. But I feel like the next big step would be like developing your ear to really hear fast, because that's why these cats are always logged in, because they hear it. They hear everything. It's not just a matter of motion or practicing playing fast. It's more like hearing.
yeah, and gosh, and so that I think also kind of underscores the fact that everybody's different in their development. You know, like you like right now I have to develop more reading skills and like that stuff from the book, and have done more ear stuff in the past. That was kind of my style. I still need to get my ears going as well, even better. But um, uh, just that it's also not one thing or the other. It's just that we want to try and um, just work on our whatever our weaknesses are to kind of
Yeah,
that going. And I also find that whenever I actually work on my weaknesses, everything else just gets is so much better. And I'm just like, oh dang, it's like the weak link that's slowing things down. Um, but I think also even that that sensitivity to or the speed of listening and that sensitivity to being able to catch something really quick is so helpful for, like, if you're playing something and the guitar player does a like, you can catch it, or especially a bass player. I remember playing at the church, and the bass player would do a riff, and I would know when he's going to end it because maybe I heard him do that riff before or something like that. So if they're going do 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 boom or something like that, like you can be like, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, do 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 boom, and
Yeah, because the reaction is much faster. You're trained to that. Yeah.
so it's also, I mean, it's almost like a game. It's fun to play too. Like if someone is not even playing in time, but just you try and play like exactly to match up what they're doing, even if there's not any pattern to it. Like I think. Do you know about this band, the Bad Plus?
Yeah, sure.
They, I mean, I'm not really a super fan, but I definitely love some of their work. And there's a song that they do. I forget the name of it. It's one of the earlier songs, and they have this part where it's like dun 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 dun, and it's like a minute, like where it's just like coordinated hits. And I remember watching like some live versions of that, and it was like a little bit different. And someone was writing in the comments like, this is not like, they never do this the same every time. So it might be that they're so fast at coordinating that they can just play everything ad lib. You know what I mean? Like
Wow,
one person is showing. I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but
okay.
we
You never know. Musicians from New York, you never know what comes next.
Yeah. Oh, but that's also another thing, Well, I don't want us to go too long, but just even, and I think it's an interesting thing, like your perspective coming from Germany, and just the fact that all these different cultures have different views of things. And it's kind of like, well, it's just like when we're speaking, like you're going to speak with an accent, so you're going to interpret things. And I have a certain kind of accent because of where I grew up and stuff like that. But auch Deutsch, ich würde sagen, ich habe ein bisschen wie ein amerikanischer Akzent.
Yeah.
But like, so it would, but just this thing, but that's not a bad thing. It's a great thing, because you just have this other way of taking it in, I don't know. It's just interesting, especially like even the way that you and Paul play like gospel chops type stuff. It's different. It's not exactly the way that the original guys did them, but you have your own take, and I don't know. I just like that.
Cool. I mean, I think with that stuff, I mean, I think you see it. Like, for example, if it's just important with music, like that you go deep into directions you're like checking out. For example, like when I like, I don't know, yeah, Chris Dave, and then I was looking up why he sounds like this. Then I was listening to everything he listened to, or that I could find out what he listened to, and also with Vinny Colaiuta and all that stuff, and then go back and go deep into his style. And I think it doesn't matter so much what's the style of if that's hip hop or jazz or whatever. Whenever a musician goes deep into something, you can hear that. And if you make music with him, it kind of works, because like every music has kind of the same elements, and but every element is expressed different in every style. But what I wanted to say, like, for example, if John Scofield plays with Mark Juliana, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
they are really different with their styles, but they can make music because they know how to make music and listen to stuff, and that's what I actually like. I mean, I do so many different styles. It was not even planned or something, but 2 years ago I was on tour with an African singer, like kind of world music. Then I'm playing some neo soulish music with Leona, then playing with a modern jazz quartet, like really modern jazz, yeah,
Yeah.
and or with a hip hop band, and it all works out if you know how to treat music properly and know the important key elements of that music. I mean, I would never play with a Latin band now because I mean I know a basic beat and a clave or whatever, but I would never go there and say I can play that. So
Mm-hmm.
what what I wanted to say actually, I don't know. I lost it.
I think you're just kind of getting into like, what just the fact that we're all the kind of the sum of all of our influences, and you can go back down deeper into what, and it is so interesting that sometimes it actually can be demystifying, or kind of like, oh, like if somebody if there's some artist that you really like and you're like, oh man, I love this person and I've never heard the sound like this, and then you hear in an interview they're like, yeah, I really like Neil Young or something like that, and then you're like, oh, they just sound like Neil Young. But but sometimes, actually, a lot of times, it's the case that like they might sound a lot like that person, but they're not. There's some little twist. I guess that's what ties it back in. It's like it's not exactly. There's still some little twist that makes it unique, and it makes it so that it's still worth listening. Like I wouldn't be into that the person that influenced them, but I'm into them.
Yeah, I mean that's like where it's like for me there you have to decide that if you want to be an artist, like okay, I take that part of this drummer and make it my own. I mean, like I don't want to. I check it out how it works, and I really admire like some gospel drummers, but I don't want to play exactly like them because that would be very boring. Then I would be the German guy who plays, it's able to sound like a gospel drum. What is that? So I'm really trying to. I mean, that's the most important thing for me right now. Also, like finding my own voice and having that influence and that influence and that influence, and then really, yeah, that's why I'm also recording myself a lot, like listening to myself
Mm-hmm.
and discovering like what's really making my sound special, or um, yeah, what's special about me, because all big people, all big musicians, like they have such a strong voice, for example, if you take Elvin Jones or something, yeah, you hear him 10 seconds, exactly on the spot, it's Elvin. And he may be not as tight as some cats right now or whatever, but man, that stands for himself. Nobody can compare anything to him, like, and that's like what people, yeah, I mean, that's like real artists are for me. Like every drummer or musician I admire has like found that own strong voice. Yeah.
That's exactly it, man. And like, if you think about it, I mean, this is not to dive too deep into the world of art, but that's exactly what you're talking about. The difference between being someone who just kind of does a job and being an artist, right? And as far as I can tell, really what being an artist is about is the choices that you make. It's also kind of what being a human is about, but the choices that you make. And if you choose to play this or that way, you know, you're being, then that's where your voice kind of comes out. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and
but
that could also mean like Questlove does. It could mean like also I do nothing and just play a beat or something. Can be anything, and that's like why I wanna. I feel like a lot of universities don't encourage that. They say music works like this and this, but it's not like this. I mean, sometimes I feel it would be so cool if there would be more teachers or people running around and tell like, listen to yourself, really, and then it becomes interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that, well, part of it has to do with just how universities and institutions kind of work, right? Like
yeah, of
you,
course.
you're you kind of are, they're really great for making you be able to repeat a certain pattern or to learn a pattern, right?
Yeah,
But it's also like art school. I went to art school, and I don't think that they can really teach you how to make art in art school. They can teach you like the skills and the craft. Like you can learn how to draw and all that stuff is great. But like, can they teach you how to like, you know, tell your own story or have your own reason for making art? Like, not really.
yeah,
I think some of that just comes from maturity. But I just hope that people are not discouraged when they're doing when they have people say, oh, here it is, you want to learn jazz? Okay, here's the jazz book. Like, and I was kind of hinting at that when I was talking to Paul the other day as well, where it can get kind of um, like even jam sessions. You go to jam sessions sometimes, and people are like, what you got, and like it's like, oh, well, if you're not playing, this and that,
some
they're
places.
not open.
Yeah, yeah.
But oh man, so much. I don't know. We'll have to do a part two or something sometime, man. Because this is just it's kind of stuff I love just hanging and talking about. It's
And
good
awesome.
stuff. So thank you so much for the time, dude. We were
And thank
flew
you.
by.
It's an honor.
And just like with Paul's interview, I'm gonna go back and listen. Oh, that's what I wanted to mention right before. I was gonna say this thing of listening to yourself play drums is really humbling and makes you grow. I haven't really been consistently doing it until recently, making recordings. I made recordings and stuff. I didn't go back and listen to it enough, but that you can feel, if you can have a little groove on the drum set and it feels to you like the most groovy, funky thing ever. And you're like, oh my gosh, I actually did it. I am the most funky drummer that's ever lived. You're like, and
Yeah.
then you listen back to it and you're like, wait, this must not be the same track. Something happened. And
And happened to me very often. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh my gosh. So that's a super healthy habit. Like, because it makes sense though too, because you're getting a lot of tactile information, and sometimes things that feel good don't really sound that good. So um
Yeah, I mean, I think like that thing is like, I feel like most of the people actually don't need a teacher. They know just need somebody who tells you like, really look into your eyes and look really at your weak spots and be brave enough to accept it and then work with it, because like there's the key to the next step, like nothing else. And yeah, I think you don't ever need a teacher if you just are able to do that, because all the information you need you can get anywhere. I mean, like the moment you know paradiddle, doubles, and singles,
yeah,
and that's it, man. There's nothing more.
I mean, well, so I think that's actually, so I think that is the job of the teacher, is to be like a coach, where it's like they can see that weak point. Maybe you can even see it too, but just to remind you, like,
Yeah,
oh, I mean, even like when I did a little Skype lesson with Paul, and he was mentioning like writing down practice and stuff, and being specific about what you're practicing and stuff. I was like, that was already on my list of like things that I really need to work on, and it was just a reinforcement, like, oh yeah, I do need
yeah,
to.
reminders can be very good. Yeah, yeah.
So that's definitely it's definitely a thing. Um, all right, all right. Once again, thanks again, man. You're awesome.
Thank
You're
you.
teaching. I'm also gonna just add all your stuff. on the end like I did with Paul's. And dude, it's great to see you. Glad you're doing
Man,
good.
great.
Have a great
Take
one,
care.
man. Talk to you again soon. You gotta come back on.
All right, man. Bye bye.
Ciao. So there we have it. There we have it. Some takeaways, even just from me as I listen back to this. What are the takeaways? It's like, you know, really find your own way of playing. Find your own way of playing drums. Be influenced by people. Up your game by accepting your own kind of shortcomings, but at the end of the day, find a way of playing drums where someone could be like, "Yo, that's Nate, or that's Paul, or that's Magro, or whatever." So I'm going to now show you the places where you can find Magro. Remember that he teaches online as well, and his Instagram is always popping. Like, it literally is always, he's got that Instagram going. And then, of course, on his website as well. Okay, this is Drum and Drummer. We're going to continue. We're going to do some interviews in the future, but we're also going to be just talking about some tips. Maybe we're going to get more into the drumming and music artistry side of things. But then sometimes it's going to be a practical one, like one of the next ones I want to do is about buying a drum kit. So there we go. I'm Nate. It's been a good one. I'm not gonna, you don't have to like and subscribe, but you probably should. So with that, have a nice day. Goodbye.